Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Hollywood Racks Destination e-bike rack and seeing how it fits on the back of our 2023 Honda CR-V. The Destination E is a platform style bike rack, holding the bike in these trays and primarily by our frame using this frame clamp. This is going to rotate 360 degrees, move around the mast on the back here, and allow us to meet the bike where it is. It makes it a great option for alternative frame bikes, and with this being an e-bike rack, it can support up to 70 pounds per bike. So some of our bigger e-bikes can fit on here. The one thing I would steer away from is carbon frame bikes, because frame contact already isn't good for the carbon frame, and especially a clamp like this where we're putting a lot of pressure around that frame. With this being a platform rack, it does have the ability to tilt away with the bikes loaded, and this one does it really well. If you come down to the bottom of the mast, just in front of the front tray, there's a hand knob. We can loosen that, push it out of the way once it's loose enough, and then as we take a step back, we can push the whole rack away from us almost a full 90 degrees. Now, because of where that pivot point is located, it doesn't feel very heavy at all, and this gives us plenty of room to open up the back hatch on the CR-V, letting us get in and out of the back, get things that we need to, or just have a place to sit down and change our shoes before or after our ride without having to unload the bikes. Makes it really nice and easy. And again, for a bike rack that can hold some heavier e-bikes, it's great to know that this is easy to do by hand, by yourself. The other thing that makes this rack really easy to use is the included ramp. Of all the bike racks that come with a ramp, this is one of my favorites because it's really wide and stable. It doesn't store on the rack itself, but it does slide together for a more compact storage. Loosen the hand knob on the back to slide it out, and attach it near the back tire. Since we have a wall in our way, I'm just going to do it on this other cradle here to show how it slots in with that oval-shaped hole and stud, keeping it locked in. Up top, we have a hand knob for that clamp, so just loosen that up until it releases. The hand knob does lock, so if you have it in the locked position, it's just going to free spin. It won't actually unclamp anything. You've got that added layer of security for your bikes. And just to kind of demonstrate the ramp, I'm going to move this over to the other cradle. And at this point, you would just ramp it down the ramp. And when you're done, this can just condense back down, secure with the hand knob so it doesn't slide out on its own, and just throw it in the car. I always like to, at this point, replace the wheel straps just because they are quite long and I don't like them just flapping around freely. This will at least keep them contained. And at this point we can see how it fits on the car, starting with our ground clearance. The lowest point at the back end is actually going to be towards the side here thanks to this reverse U-shaped design, giving us a ground clearance at the lowest point of 15 inches. I'd say that's more than enough for most situations. Steep driveways and hills you shouldn't have too much problem with, because there is a good rise in the shank. For the distance we add to the back of the vehicle, going from the bumper to the outer edge, that's going to be 32 inches, which for a 2-bike rack is pretty much right on average. Just keep in mind that it's back there, but it doesn't stick out too far. If you want to leave it in the hitch between rides, you can fold the rack up into a storage position. To do that, we have to start with our mast, which is a 2-step process. There's going to be these rubber straps at the bottom as safety measures for the handles. Pop those off and then open the handle on either side to lower the mast down. Once it's down, we can re-engage those levers and run the straps around there again just to keep them from opening or popping out on their own. Once those are secured, we can turn our attention a little bit lower on the rack to find this pin and retaining clip. Just pop that out. Fold the rack upright, it'll hit a stopper, and we can go back down to the newly aligned holes. This will be the pin that holds it in that folded position, making sure it doesn't pop back out. And in the folded state, it does condense things down quite a bit, sticking out from that same point on the bumper, out only 16 inches now. So it does stick out a little bit more in the folded state than some other racks do, but compared to what it was when it was folded out flat and loaded with bikes, it's going to be a lot less. Easier to manage when you're driving around and pulling into parking spaces. One thing I want to point out though is that it does block your license plate and your backup camera in this folded state quite a bit. And even on the sides, we've got a little bit of our taillights partially obstructed. I don't think that's as big a deal because it is largely still visible. But these two pieces right here are going to be pretty well blocked, and you won't be able to rely on your backup camera for backing out if you plan on leaving it in the hitch between rides. At the bottom, it's working with our 2" by 2" receiver tube, and it has a built-in anti-rattle device that keeps things nice and solid in the hitch. That's controlled by this hand knob on the outside, which actually binds the hitch pin against the hitch pin hole. It makes the whole setup process a lot easier because the bike rack will hit this block as you're putting it in the hitch, and then we can just pass this pin through and tighten it till it's tight. The pin does also lock, keeping things secure and untouched in our hitch, and that's going to be key to those hand knobs that we saw up top earlier that keep our bikes secured. And when it comes to bike racks that come included with a ramp for your e-bikes, I think this is going to be a really solid rack. There's a couple options out there like the Yakima on-ramp. My personal opinion is that the Destination E is a little bit better because the ramp is wider and more stable. But if you're looking for something a bit more lightweight, easy to transport, and not as bulky on the back of your car, the on-ramp is a really solid option. Whichever way you go though, it's going to make carrying your e-bikes a lot easier because of that included ramp, and I do think it's a good fit on our 2023 Honda CR-V. Thanks for watching.
Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners and evasive maneuvers. Then we get to the alternating speed bumps. We'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving on uneven pavement. Then we'll go over the full speed bumps, and we can see the up and down action. This will be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or a driveway.